Hi, is Gail in, please? Scott Peterson, Headache Productions in Chicago. Hi, how you doing? I'm doing okay. I'm just wondering if you heard back from the Smashing Pumpkins about my video. Any chance?
I wrote a story in the package of stories they did. It wasn't just one story, it was a whole front page full of stories, page after page of stories inside with an analysis of the rock scene and different labels and things like that. And I basically just think it was good journalism because there was a lot happening right then.
Wasn't that Bill Wyman writing that article? Well, I mean, my take on it is that perspective has no more merit than anything else that guy dreams up. Chicago has had an active, thriving music scene, especially an underground music scene, for decades. And for someone to canonize that by saying that he has just noticed and therefore the scene just exists is preposterous.
It's pathetic how little was happening in rock and roll in Chicago for how long. And I think what you have now is just a redressing of that, which is long, long overdue.
Of course, there was always great bands here in Chicago. It got major notoriety because certain bands from Chicago got signed to certain major corporate labels and were put on MTV. So, I mean, those bands were always here.
Hoboken was the new Liverpool, according to New York Rocker in the early 80s. The Bongos, the DBs, and the Feelies. And that was bullshit.
It's just wherever the industry chooses to focus their laser beam, and they seem to need this concept of a scene to help sell things.
Then I moved to Minneapolis for a couple of years, which is the perennial new Seattle. You know what I mean? From the Replacements and Husker Du and Soul Asylum and all these bands. And that was bullshit.
It's not, the feeding frenzy is not unique to Chicago. It's happening all over the place. Perhaps you've heard of Nirvana.
Then I moved to Chicago, same thing. You know, all these things about this business about a scene and a hype on a particular scene, I think it's all just bullshit. It's good music or bad music.
The six majors or certain people in the business decided that, well, Seattle's sucked dry, we might as well move to another town. And there actually happen to be very diverse, excellent bands here in Chicago. Pretty much bands can do what they want to do. We're here to facilitate their existence. We're not here to make money off them. We're here to help them go on tour, help them put records out.
Absolutely, unequivocally, Touch and Go is the most honorable, most straightforward, most unmanipulative, most caring record label that I've ever encountered anywhere in the world. If anybody anywhere in the world can find a better record label, I'll suck his dick.
Touch and Go has an aesthetic and a vision that comes from that Albini Big Black thing I was talking about. They want to make harsh, uncompromising music. I mean, a lot of their bands have some things in common. There's a few exceptions like Seam, but for the most part, they want music to to drill fucking holes in your head by.
There is a way to do things that maintains a personal relationship with everybody, and there's a way of doing things that closes off all personal relationship and reduces everything to a simple business relationship. In the 15 or so years that I've been dealing with the people at Touch and Go, I don't feel for a moment that they've ever behaved in a what's in it for me manner.
The Jesus lizard are like a caged animal that's been poked and prodded for about a year, and then it's finally let out of the cage, set free.
I think once you've seen them once, you've kind of got the shtick. It's interesting. David Yao's quite a front man, but there's one song. It's a very, very good song, but there's only one song.
Good night, diarrhea. I really think that the rock journalism thing is getting way out of hand, and I want reforms. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of reviewers who project their fantasies and dreams onto a bunch of dumbasses who just happen to make sounds. I'm sick of reviewers who go around stirring up shit and getting personal without ever having to actually look the person in the eye that they're talking about and having to deal with them like the next day or the next day.
This is from a review that some guy at the Tech from MIT, that's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, wrote about our record Down. None of the songs have any melody and have a profoundly inflexible rhythm. In fact, in light of Liar, the band's last album, I'm convinced that the Jesus Lizard has a paramecium's concept of rhythm. That's those guys.
Jesus Lizard is kind of interesting because they really have, there's a groove in the Jesus Lizard. It's not really a groove like a Pearl Jam groove, but there's like a little bit of funk or a little swagger, a little swing to the Jesus Lizard. It's really effective sometimes.
Do you really need, people quoting Foucault and, French existentialism about rock lyrics? Do we really need that?
I like that.
Do we really need minimalism and other art movements being compared to like what some dumbasses create in their basement? Please. It's just entertainment. Christ, man, you're just trying to take up time before you die. Just so we can stop killing each other or defecating upon each other or fucking each other. Just long enough to listen to some music for a while. That's all. Is that so much to ask?
Well, he did funny things and he crowd surfed, so he's into the crowd and not all stuck on himself and this and that. So they put on a good show. It's worth their money. He's really cute. David Yao's really cute.
Fucking wrong, that's right, doesn't it?
just a man who's crazy too. That woman's carrying loud. They have a face so I he said, they got a face so I he said, oh, he said, oh, he said, oh, he said, oh, he said.
Corey, who runs Touch and Go, was immensely cool about, before we ever started talking to any of the majors, we had a meeting with Corey and told him that we were thinking of maybe making the big jump.
We knew what they were going to do the whole time, and they knew where we stood. It didn't just come out of the blue. They didn't go, hey, Touch and Go, tomorrow we're leaving, you know. So it's no bitterness. I mean, I wish the best for those guys. They're great guys.
Well, they're in an unusual position in that they saw a lot of their friends make the move from a small label to a big label and get destroyed in the process. So presumably they've made an informed and measured decision.
There is absolutely no doubt about it. Steve Albini is the best recording engineer to walk around in his house.
My personal relationship with them isn't as close as it used to be, but that doesn't have very much to do with them being on a different record label. They're, you know, just as people grow and mature, they change and they grow apart if that's their inclination. So.
Another important person, however, was Steve Albini, who has a definite legacy, both as a recording artist under Big Black. He invented this underground sound that's so important to Chicago. Completely unadorned, hostile, very loud, clanky, completely unconcerned with commercial consideration. That's what he did in his band Big Black and later Rape Man. As a producer, he's fathered a whole bunch of bands. He's done anything he can to support them, and a whole bunch of bands that aren't loud in Chicago.
Steve doesn't talk about the music that you're doing, or maybe it's just with us, but generally he's just no nonsense, just totally serious and hardworking, and he just gets the sounds he likes. And it was really good to work with him. He was really pleasant. He's full of funny jokes, pretty disgusting jokes, and no, it's just great.
Dealing with Veruca Salt was the same as any other band that I work with. Musically, they're from a totally different tradition to most of the bands that I work with. That is, they're much more of a mainstream pop music band than an underground rock band, and they make no bones about it.
He immediately put us at ease when we walked into the studio, and he told us the vilest joke, which I won't repeat because I don't use language like that. But
he's basically
just all the words like combinations of all of the vilest words that you can't even use singly. and he just put them all together, these awesome like contractions, and it was disgusting.
I think it was like we walk in and we're these I don't know, there's something about spoiling the debutantes or something. Like, let's just set the tone right now. Let's make it clear what's going on and who's in charge.
The best prank that I've ever encountered was pulled on me, and it was the night Jerry Garcia died. Someone distributed flyers in the Old Town area and in the up along the Gold Coast into Lincoln Park. They put flyers up on telephone poles and stuff, that there was a hotline people could call to leave a personal message for Jerry Garcia and his family, so that Jerry Garcia's family would know how much he meant to his fans. And there was a candlelight vigil at a park, and these flyers were distributed at this candlelight vigil that, if you sincerely want to get a message to Jerry Garcia's family and the Grateful Dead, there's a hotline that's been set up and you can record a message. And the phone number for the hotline was, of course, my phone number. And so for about a week, I was getting a constant barrage of people wanting to tell me how much Jerry meant to them. That was pretty good.
So, do you know who did this?
No. Hats off to him, though.
Your touch and go crowd, I think Steve Albini is the champion of this. You know, they're sitting on the other side of that line and they're mowing people. They're going, you're sellouts, you're sellouts, you're sellouts. If you even talk to a major label, you're a sellout, you know. And that, I think, has really screwed up a lot of people's thinking. It's made some people gun shy. I mean, people are afraid to do anything because they're being called sellout. I think people just got to remain true to what it is they think they're doing, and they're certainly not answerable to other people in the scene or critics or anybody else.
I sort of feel like the band at hand, making the music at hand, are the only things that matter. And my obligation is to them, the band, and to it, the music. And what the rest of the world thinks about it when it's all over with means nothing to me. You know, it never has.
Albini wrote a letter to the reader. Music, what was it? It was, the title of the letter was 3 music industry sluts or something like that. Okay, and he talked about, he said that you know, that Joker was REO's Speedwagon, and Liz Phair was Ricky Lee Jones, and the Smashing Pumpkins were Oingo Boingo for the 90s and things like this, and that all of them were complete sellouts and artistically uninteresting and worthless and a piece of crap. That created a firestorm of letters. I mean, 10 or 15 letters came in just a few days later, most of them attacking Steve Albini for his positions and all sorts of, and it is kind of a difficult position to be in, to say that it's okay for me, Steve Albini, to take $100,000 from a major label to produce a record, but it's not okay for you guys to take $100,000 from a major label to produce a record.
I've been criticized by some people, generally, you know, specifically in the case of people like Bill Wyman, people with absolutely no footing to make such criticism, that I've somehow been hypocritical to my allegiance to the underground by occasionally working with bands on big record labels. But the economic distinction between a band with funding behind them and a band with no funding behind them has never been an issue for me. The issue has always been the bands making their own decisions and the bands calling their own shots. And on the rare occasion when a band on a big record label does approach me about working on their record, that's the only thing that matters to me. Is if I can deal with them and they can make the decisions, then I have no reservations about working with them if it's music that I think I can do a good job on.
I think he's totally on the wrong side, basically. I think that like, as I said before, I think these artists, they deserve a chance to make a living, and you should judge them on what they do as opposed to like what they might do or the way that they're doing it.
Well, we started out in Denver, Colorado in 1974 as a record store and was there for about 8 years. And then, like I said, everything sort of flew past Denver. We were going to Kansas City, Chicago, and New York to see shows. And sold that to a couple of good friends of ours and moved to Chicago in 1978.
Industrial was this incredibly freeing genre, this incredibly freeing medium, but in a lot of ways it was a style of making music rather than a style of music.
You had to describe the type of music that we were putting out, and we always hated the name industrial, but hell, you got to have a name for it to stick.
I guess fundamentally what makes Wax Trax unique as a label is that they were the first label I'd ever come into contact with that wanted to do anything with me.
It seems like everybody that's on the label worked at the record store or the record label at one time. Al worked for us at the record store. Chris Conley worked at the record store. Sister Machine Gun, Chris Gowans. It seemed like everybody, for one time or another, worked either at the record store or at the record label. So that made it kind of special.
They were the first label I ever came into contact with that wanted to take risks and were happy to take risks. And I found that I was involved in a very exciting, new, and innovative environment, and it was really good.
Everyone assumed that me and Al Jorgensen and Sasha and Frankie and everybody in the Chicago industrial scene, we all go out, we have a bridge club on Fridays and we go golfing on Saturdays, and we have a barbecue every day, and that you can't walk down the, Belmont and Halstead, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting an industrial rock star, which may or may not be true, but the rest of the country perceives this place as the home of industrial music, and 99.9% of the reason for that is Wax Trax.
Now everybody, have you heard? If you're in the game, and the stroke's the word.
When we did the stroke, it was kind of a statement on the music industry in general, and some people's conceptions of industrial music in particular. If you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's an indictment of the music industry.
You put your right hand out, you give a front handshake. You talk to me about the one thing break. You bet you're in pollution, both far and wide. You keep your contribution by your side. And stroke me, could be a winner when you move so well. Stroke me. You're so together for. Say you're a winner, but man, you're just a sinner.
Chris Randall wanted to have a job at the record label, and so we hired him in the shipping department. Chris was the type of guy that just talked about his future, and he was going to be a rock star. And everybody in the shipping department is like, get this guy the hell out of here. He doesn't do anything except run his mouth. So we kept him. He just had a lot of spunk to his ass. Lo and behold, whatever he said he was going to do, he did it. And I admire people like that.
Give me the business all night long. You're so together, boy. Stroke me. 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 Say you're a winner, but man, you're just a sinner now.
Wax Trax has had a lot of bands that left the label and went on to some commercial success, 242 and Ministry among them. Wax Trax kind of went through some troubles more recently. They went bankrupt, they had to reorganize, but now they're kind of back with some help from TVT Records.
We had talked to every major label in the country. We were either flying to New York or Los Angeles. Everybody was real excited about doing a major label distribution deal with Wax Trax. They just found out that that I didn't have contracts with my bands. And once they realized that, why have Wax Trax when we can just have their bands? And when they hand out blank checks to these artists, then I don't blame them,
Jim and Danny were, they were like my parents. They took care of me and made sure I had everything I needed. And Jim Nash had a thing where, he didn't really care about making money. He cared about making the kind of music he liked heard. And, as a result of that, he got kind of, abused financially. But I think he's done more, him and Danny have done more for industrial music than anyone ever, could hope to do, in America anyways.
Steve Gottlieb from TBT came in and helped me and Jim dearly. He came in and basically saved our company. TBT's got a great staff in New York. They can manufacture and distribute and get these things out to the public.
It's a different vibe. Now when I want something, something has to happen, my manager has to call TBT, then TBT has to call me, and TBT has to call Wax Trax. Wax Trax has to talk to TBT and my manager, and it's just, The nice thing about TBT is the Wax Trax was always kind of strapped financially, whereas TBT's got money coming out their ears. So So if I do come up with some kind of cockamamie scheme, you know, they can pay for it if they want to. Where at Wax Trax, they'd want to do it, but they could never pay for it, you know.
TVT misses the point of Wax Trax. They have from the beginning. They're going to continue to do that. And the more they let the people at Wax Trax do what they do, the better chance they're going to have of making the label function.
She was spinning slowly, trying hard to hear. There was a tentacle dress and a big stuff there. Sitting by her bedside, he held a little note. He said, "Don't turn away. It's time to sing for Dad. It's time to play my way." She closed her eyes and I said, "Sunshine, sunshine, pretty baby, sunshine, sunshine, pretty girl, good girl, go to heaven, sunshine, sunshine, pretty baby." Sunshine, pretty girl, good girl, go to heaven. This little girl, she a bright blue eyes. She was just 17.
I have a great respect for Jim and Danny for what they did. Everything they did out of respect for music, out of care for the people they worked with, out of a sincere desire to have some sort of effect on the culture around them. And none of it had anything to do with making money.
Since my partner died, I've been getting tons of letters from people. "Oh, we met you back in the early 70s, and if it wasn't for you guys and the music that you brought, I wouldn't be where I'm at today." And it's flattering because you just don't see the influence or the impact that you've made over the years until something tragic happens like Jim's death, and then people really speak their mind about, you know, what everything really meant to him. I don't know what to say about Jim. It's like, once he passed away, it just took half of me, you know, half of the company, you know, half of the excitement. I'm totally getting back into this. I've got all these demo tapes coming in from people, and it's, you know, it's hard to think that he's not around to enjoy these things.
With the possible exception of a couple of labels, I really don't think there's really any difference between indies and major labels anymore, except in scope.
The fundamental difference is money. I mean, more than that, major labels are corporations owned by stockholders and stuff like that, and independent labels are usually run by music fans and, you know, people who, well, not necessarily, most of them have their heart in the right place and do business on a lot more of a personal, you know, it has more integrity.
Totally depends on the label, though there are so many corrupt, fucked up indie labels where they're just as evil as major labels, and in fact more so because they operate under the guise of being really artist friendly when really they're just in it for the money or the, you know, cool factor, like whatever it is.
Touch and Go Records, Wax Trax Records, a lot of these labels, Quarter Stick, they had this bizarre credibility that they didn't work for. It just happened. It was there, and they didn't sit there, you know, staying up all night saying, how do we get our indie cred so we keep our, you know, alternative fans, you know. They didn't do that. They put out what their people gave them. They encouraged cross-pollination between bands, which is now another thing that record labels are freaked out by. Oh, you have a side project? You know, how masturbatory? You know, how conflicting with your current album sales, you know. They did so many things that larger labels thought were just suicide.
If you sign to a major label, of course, the company is going to make a lot more money than you could ever make. I mean, it's not even comparable. It's like, you know, even if you have a good record deal, you're making a tiny, tiny percentage of what the record label is making off of you and your songs, and there's something inherently really gross about that.
Major labels, I mean, we've got a lot of friends who are on major labels, and they just seem to have lost a lot of their
Joy
freedom
for
and
playing
joy
music.
for playing music. I'm very comfortable with where Scene is right now. A little more success would be nice, so we wouldn't have to worry about, where money comes from when we're not touring and stuff. We have to, we have needs and things just like everyone else. And it's kind of difficult being at this level, actually, because we're like too big to have regular jobs, but too small to live off of what we make. So we're in this horrible twilight zone, if you will. We have really devoted fans too, and that's the thing. We really care about them a lot, and we making a jump to a major label, you run the potential of alienating those people, especially when you're going from an indie band like Seam as sort of, I guess, poppy as we are. People really appreciate us, and we really appreciate them.
we've been really lucky in the last year or so, where like, when we wrote the song, it was kind of about selling your soul to the man, and it's just kind of ironic that we more or less were offered a really good deal from a big record company, and we went for it, and we're just one of the few bands that get the lucky break, and we're just really happy for that. And just as ironic that we're making fun of it in a song that everyone seemed to like too, including all the big record companies.
Hi, this is Scott Peterson. I'm doing a documentary on Chicago rock bands. I think I talked to you a couple times before. I wanted to interview the Pumpkins for this movie, and I was just wondering if you had heard back from them at all. Okay. All right. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
Well, 11 Dream Day is really a band that deserved a lot more attention. I mean, some people have seen people from Chicago. I've been in Chicago for 6 years now. Before I even got here, there were people say, oh, 11 Dream Day is the greatest band in the world. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think 11 Dream Day has gotten better and better.
It's so tight, the fading light seems bad now. You're up here so high, the moon is in your eyes, and that's why long after this time is gone, and the winter nights go long, open your sleeping eyes. Use the streets of blanket with cover us up like a myth. It would all be just a lie if we had to try. And that's why long after this time is gone, and the winter nights go long, open your sleeping eyes. The microphone to the one who wants the podium. The ship of fools can tag along, sink the ship, but we'll hang on. And that's why long after this time is gone, when the winter nights go long, open your sleeping eyes. That's why long after this time is gone, and the winter nights go long, open your sleeping eyes. Open your eyes. Rise, 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 rise. Open your sleeping eyes.
We did 3 albums on Atlantic. The first one, Beat came out, and it did what they wanted it to do. It got played on the radio, which was their main objective, and it sold all right. But for the most part, they did what they wanted, and they got our name out there, and got a lot of good reviews. And then when the second album came out, Live to Tell, there was already some turmoil within the label. And the person that signed us and the head of the department both left right before the record came out. And it didn't really do that well. So by the time we got back from Europe on that tour, on the El Mudio tour, I just decided that I'd had enough, you know.
So many bands are just fucked with. They're like lured in, given a big contract, and then either the record doesn't do well just by nature because it wasn't received well when the label really pushes it, or the label doesn't really work the record.
I mean, it's a whole different climate. I'm not even sure I understand the industry at this point, you know. It's like if a major wants to sign you, you know, all I'd say is make sure it's a good contract and you get plenty of money up front, because who knows, you know, how many bands actually make it big.
We woke up in Detroit in a hotel one night to the sound of flowing water, which ended up being Kevin over here sleepwalking, peeing on an electrical outlet in the middle of the room. And Brian is like, Kevin! And he goes, what? I mean, he could have died. He's peeing right on a socket.
I think we have a wave of real Midwestern power pop punk bands right now. The Lupins, Triple Fast Action, who the hell are there? There's 3 or 4. Oh, Smoking Popes. I think they're all kind of real Midwestern meat and potato in a Cheap Trick kind of way, power pop.
You know, the Q101s and the K-Rocks of the world perpetuate this salability of this music. I personally feel it's the beginning of the end, actually, of certain things, because I've always believed in promoting new music. That's what Metro and Double Door have always been about, new music. It's not alternative music.
We heard our song like on a station, and we heard them announce about a show, and I was like, well, this is so stupid. You know, they wouldn't announce any of our shows, you know, a few months ago, but now that the record's out, then it's okay to announce it. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. Why do you have to be on a major label to get played on the radio? But that's just the way it works.
Alternative is like selling, you know, dishwasher detergent or soap for washing your clothes. The alternative to Tide is Bold, and what makes Bold better than Tide? Well, you know, 100% more whiteners. It's new. I mean, what are we talking about? You know, we're talking about selling shoes and cars and vacations and things like that. That's what that radio is all about. It's not necessarily about new music. It's about what these programmers believe kids will buy.
Bands like Veruca Salt, Wild Lucy, Triple Fast Action, and whoever else is on a major label now, they're under pressure to sell a lot of records their first time out, and I think that that's really destructive, you know, creatively and just personally. I mean, I don't think people can really stand a lot of that pressure without breaking in some way. And how do you write a hit record knowing that you have to? You know, it's really hard.
Triple Fast Action's a band that made a phenomenal record, and pure pop with so many obvious singles, and Fig Dish made an amazing rock record. And these are records that I think people will go back to later, hopefully when these bands are successful, and go, why didn't people hear these records? But really frustrating for these bands who got, caught up in all the excitement and then really didn't have the kind of focus or interest from their record labels. And that's really the downside of the major label. It's like there is this kind of attitude where we'll just sign up a bunch of bands, throw everything against the wall, and whatever sticks we'll pursue. And if it doesn't take off immediately out of the box, then we don't want to waste our time and money on these people.
I like Red Red Meat. I think they're a great, languid, psychedelic, NyQuil, heroin type band. They make this spacey, dreamy music that comes from a different world.
And seeing a show is an out-of-body experience if you're open to it.
It's got that melancholy, sad, also rocking and penetrating, kind of glistening sound that's just, I think they're magical.
Well, the thing that fascinates me about Red Red Meat is basically the idea that there's so much different energy going through that band, and there's so much, the members of the band have so much of a difference in just their personalities, that trying to interweave something like that into music is got such a hit or miss kind of cause and effect kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's one of those situations where at any moment you can see brilliance coming off their performance, or you can be watching a train wreck.
A lot of people would not say that they're a great live band. It's kind of this languid head trip. Maybe I've taken enough Romular in my life to appreciate it.
I know where to find you when I want you, but I don't. Brain dead, fine. Judy Foster, John the Baptist, not a waitress left inside.
Tim Hurley, who was their bass player and also their guitar player for the band, came into sound check with about 15 or 20 cases of candles. And I was kind of concerned about the fact that, you know, would I have a club in the morning when they lit all these candles up? So we made a point to put a fire extinguisher on stage, and I made Tim Rutuli promise me on everything that was sacred that fire extinguisher would not go off during the performance. And I came downstairs, and the whole place is filled with a billow of just like white cylinder dust that he just poured out of there. And I think that's pretty symbolic of a Red Red Meat show, or a Red Red Meat experience.
The truck stop is
like a sort of a pseudo truck stop that I own on the south side of Chicago by Comiskey Park. And it's in the old stockyards area, and a lot of that, and to a small degree, a lot of that same business still exists. They still do some slaughtering there and stuff, and they bring in sides of beef. And the majority of what we do is clean out these trailers that had all this swinging meat in there.
Our headquarters.
It's
our corporate headquarters.
It's our corporate
is the truck
headquarters.
stop.
It's loaded with a bunch of characters from the neighborhood and stuff like that. It's always kind of interesting. This guy Kent comes in, and he tells me, "Hey Ben, okay." He's like,
"No, do it. The voice."
I am gonna do the voice. He's from Bridgeport, and the Bridgeport guys, they're good. He comes in and he goes, "Hey Ben, where's Ben? Ben." And he's got the greatest deal in the world for me. "I got the greatest elephant you've ever seen in your entire life. You gotta see this thing. It's fantastic." He whips out the green elephant. Had the tusks. Actually, had one tusk at the time. "This thing's brand new, with a broken tusk. This thing's brand new, and you can't get this for less than $150 down at Weebolt's or something like that. I got it right now for you. It's $10. You can't beat this deal. You can't beat it." And one thing led to another, and about a half hour later, I had him beat down to $7, and I bought the elephant.
Ben's our point man when it comes to negotiations. You can tell he's. We got the elephant. We got the elephant, and we did not pay full price.
No way. It's like a $10 deal. $150 elephant, $10. I got it for $7.
$7. If it was.
Dude.
Oh man.
$7.
I used to say that Yum Yum was orchestral pop music until someone from Billboard magazine did an article like grouping together different orchestral pop bands, and they all seemed to be pretty elitist. There was a totally elitist ideology that was attached onto it. It was music for certain type of people, and I want Yum Yum to be for everybody. I want 15-year-old kids to be able to enjoy it as well as 50-year-old women.
Stars came shining through to remind me that I was with you, and the light so bright I knew that I could never shine so true. And when I closed my eyes, I knew that they would always shine for you. And in my heart I knew just the stars, 'cause I wanted you. Every time I fall in love, I get jealous of the stars up above. And every time I think of love, I get jealous of the stars up above. Fires burn for you, with a light so bright and a shine so warm, and with all that they can offer over you. I know there's nothing I can do. The rivers run for more than you. I see them reflect in your eyes so blue. And in my heart I knew I was just the stars 'cause I wanted you. What can I do? Blur my eyes from the sight of you and find someone who won't stop every feeling or searching for something new. Every time I fall in love, I get jealous of the stars up above. And every time I think of love, I get jealous of the stars up above. And every time I fall in love, I get jealous of the stars up above. Every time I think of love, I get jealous of the stars up above.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm proud to be a rock star. At least I sell art, at least I don't sell dope. I don't sell drugs, I sell art. And I never will do drugs, goddammit. And I'm not even thinking about smoking weed, motherfucker.
Wesley Willis is a former street artist who's a little unusual. He's gotten together with some people and he puts on this very weird, confrontational kind of weird shows that are almost a species of performance art or outsider art as opposed to actual rock and roll.
The Wesley Willis fiasco is basically commandeered by one of the best salesmen I've ever met in my life. Wesley has an ability to endear himself to you within a 5-minute conversation.
Do you like me? Do you like my records? Do you want to buy a rock and roll CD? That kind of stuff, you know. And I think, you know, I'm as charmed by Wesley as everybody else is. I think he's, you know, he's obviously an original.
You know the last line? It was Great in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You need to just yell the fuck out of that. When that line comes up, just go, "It was great in Green Bay, Wisconsin!"
Yeah.
Right?
I got to.
Well, Wesley likes to sleep comfortably in the buff. And we stayed over at this, we played a gig at this college, at this Jesuit college out in California, Northern California. And we stayed over at these girls' place, and they were really nice. And one of their roommates didn't realize that they had a rock band, including Naked Wesley, staying at the place. And she was like, you know, 18, 19 years old or whatever. So she got up for class in the morning and clashed in the bathroom with Wesley. She was getting ready to take a shower, and Wesley was, you know, getting ready to relieve himself, you know, the morning pee and whatever. And she screamed first, and then Wesley screamed. And he came running out, and you just heard, you know, tons of, "I'm sorry, miss, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I know I look like a whale," you know. And she was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, blah, blah, blah." You know, so, but she got over it and actually bought a CD.
3 years ago, I did rewind the tape.
No, we can keep going.
We'll edit that.
Yeah, we can cut all that out.
I don't know. I got a tape of Wesley Willis's music, I think about 2.5 years ago, and all it was him on a Casio, or I guess that's what it was. I first thought it was a tape, and him just spouting out commercial slogans.
3 years ago, oh, let's give me rewind it again.
Okay.
one phenomenon that I'm not real fond of is the Wesley Willis thing. You know, that to me is an example of where musical merit takes a backseat to novelty value. You know, he's a clinically schizophrenic, you know, black man, ex-mental patient. I think there's some degree of ridicule going on there, and I find that disturbing.
He's diagnosed schizophrenic, and that's one of his symptoms, but he's just a really unique guy, and I look at him as just like a really unique social entity that doesn't fit in with the world. I'd go as far as to say that he's a genius, but it's hard to realize that because he's so strangely socially adapted. You know, he doesn't live in the same society that everyone else does. So I definitely don't think there's any exploitation going around. At least I would say that we're not even close to Wesley's own ability to exploit himself. He's getting himself all over the country at this point, you know. He's taking really big steps.
In 1991, on August 31st on Saturday night, a fellow passenger named John Dillon thought I was talking to him, and he pulled out a box cutter and slashed me in the face with it. He is in jail serving 25 years.
Why did he think that you were yelling at him?
Those mean voices were firing me up.
So Wesley, tell me how you decide to draw what you draw, like these pictures above you.
I go in areas and see the sights and sit down and draw every day. When I work hard like this, that's how I make my money. When I'm busy like this, that's how I gotta do it. When I'm busy like this, that's how I gotta keep busy and do well. When I draw like this, that's how I gotta do something to get it done. I play music, I write songs about bands, about jail, about crime and all that stuff. That's what I do. That's where it is to keep out of jail, that's where it is to not go to court, that's where it is to not do wrong and get prosecuted for it. I just use that for a joyride. I just use that for a joyride.
So
I just use that for joyride so I can listen to my music and eliminate those mean voices.
So he's always inspiring to me. You know, like he started his own record company, he's got like 16 discs out. You know, we'll pull into town like Brendan said, we'll be loading the gear in, and in the time it takes us to download and get set up on stage, he's met everyone in the club and made $400 selling discs. You know, he's really got the world in the palm of his hand.
And number 2, are you band members? Let's rock now as I speak and ask questions later. This song is called Get on the Bus. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, Lord, get my wings. Let's ride the city bus. Let's ride on the yellow line. Ride the river to Mississippi. Ride the road to Utopia. Say, get on the bus, get on the bus, get no friend. Say, get on the bus, get no friend. We're going to stop us supposed to go the front way. Get stuck to the red light. The city bus was ready to move. When it started like turn green, the going to us took off. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get no friend. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get no friend. The Donald Trump was backing up. I didn't want to drive the bus. Then I called him a drive fucking shirt. I thought I was trying to suck a camel's ass the fuck out. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get no friend. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get no grin. Get on the bus, get on the bus, get on the bus, get on the bus. 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 Chicago. Beloga is America's time. And this next song's gonna do it on the side of the ring.
Why did the Wesley Willis fiasco break up? Just a lot of tension. You know, being on the road is really tough. We were on the road for about 8 months. And, you know, it seems glamorous. It's a half-hour playing a night, and it's 8 hours of driving and truck stops and sleeping on wood floors. You know, it was pretty tough. Wesley being schizophrenic, you know, did play a role. You know, there was always sort of a circus atmosphere, you know, and things were a little bizarre at all times. And it's a cool outlet, you know, but it became everyday life, and it just got to be kind of bizarre, you know. I mean, a good thing to go through, you know, and we had a blast, and, you know, I got to see the country and all that. But it's, you know, it kind of, Wesley's mentality kind of dictated the whole situation, and that's tough.
Are you still friends with Wesley?
Yeah, and not really close friends, just because we spent the last just about year together, you know, 24/7, every day in the van. So it's nice to have some distance. So all the guys in the band are kind of taking advantage of the distance a little bit, and we're not, you know, talking to each other every day, because we did. We slept next to each other every day for a year. But I still get along with Wesley, and we're still, of course, involved in business deals together, so I talk to him on the phone, and I accept his mail and get faxes for him, and, you know.
I just keep busy and work hard in these streets. Yeah, that's one thing I gotta do is keep busy and work hard in these streets. And more art than I get done, that's how I make money.
All right. Hey, Wesley, thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome. All right. All right.
I remember the first night that when Veruca Salt played here. It was like a Wednesday or Thursday, and it was like, I think maybe their first gig here. And there was a couple hundred people here, which really shocked me, because normally a local band first time in won't draw that many people. They might draw 50 or 75. And I went up to watch them for a while, because I'd heard their tapes and thought they sounded good, but I was watching them and I just thought to myself, they have what it takes to be something big.
I mean, I remember one show a couple years ago, before Veruca Salt got signed, you know, right when they were kind of getting known by the labels, and it was just nuts. It was just like at the Empty Bottle, and it was just wall to wall, like industry people and, you know, scenesters, and, you know, it was like a February night, and it was like, you know, 10 below or something insane, but it was just like this electricity in the air. It was fun, you know, why not?
In that instance, I did see it coming, and I did wish them nothing but the best, and I was hoping and praying that they'd be really careful in their decisions, because, you know, you can get eaten alive, I think, out there if you sign to a major too soon. But they seem to have their heads screwed on right about it.
What's punker than Veruca Salt, you know, streaming at the top of charts with this song Seether, which may or may not be the girl talking about her private parts.
The V word. I think it's... Don't say the V word. And Seether isn't about, the Seether is not a vagina. But it was funny when people thought it was. I thought that was kind of cool, but...
What was the other one? Jesus loves to seether?
Right, Jesus loves to seether.
There are a lot of misreadings of that song.
thing I think we were the most shocked by is it seems like everyone in the industry, certainly A&R people, but everyone, executives at record labels, it's like they all go to some seminar and learn how to speak because they all speak exactly the same. And we were just sort of shocked. They all say at the end of the day,
well, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science.
if you're just a rock band. At the end of the day, it's your record. You should do whatever you want with it. At the end of the day, you're the band, and it's not rocket science. And they just say, like, everywhere you go. And meanwhile, and the response to our band, like, we like you because you're poppy, but with an edge.
It was as if someone sent out a memo to all the labels saying, this is how you court Veruca Salt. This is how you tell them
they're poppy,
you
but with
appreciate
an
their
edge.
music.
You know, the whole backlash thing is interesting. It's insider people on the rock scene with nothing better to do but gossiping about each other and writing graffiti on the wall, the empty bottle. You know, if you like the record, talk about the record. If you don't like the record, talk about the record. All the rest of it's really irrelevant. It's just bullshit, I think. You know, the whole backlash thing, if a band is successful and you're jealous that they're successful, that's more of a reflection on what you're, on you. Too bad.
Yeah, I had resentment from my boyfriend. I mean, there was definitely backlash on a personal level.
If it's good music, it's good music, and, more power to them if they get signed to a major. And
yeah, I get it to an extent, but I still always think bands should pay their dues because some, I don't know if it stems from jealousy or what, but I kind of always feel like bands should have to go play to 4 people, in every city for a few years before they can figure out that they, are playing to 4,000.
That whole paying your dues thing, I'm not really sure I understand that or am really down with that because you can't really control how successful your band is or, I mean, if you start selling your shows out at one club, you've got to move to a different club.
Veruca Salt, oh my God, you guys, you're my idols. I'm gonna learn to play guitar, and I got an SG just like you, Nina, and I want to learn to play guitar. And then within a month or whatever, right when we started going up, she would snub us, just oh, hi, and walk by. And to this day, it's just
Veruca Salt went from nothing to everything, and they've got so much to be up against now when they churn out this next record
It's true.
or whatever.
It makes
they
it
do.
harder to.
I mean, that's so hard to follow.
To be under that kind of scrutiny would just.
We totally are into not having that pressure, man, because it doesn't affect our creative juices from flowing in the proper direction.
Man, shut the hell up.
First of all, a lot of guys come to our shows. I think I always expected there to be more girls than guys at our shows, and a lot of guys came to our shows, and one would imagine that it would just be to see the spectacle of, 2 chicks rocking out. And maybe that was a big part of it, but it was more like these guys were just confused by us because they're like, oh, wait, she rocks. Wait, she's hot. They didn't really know how to perceive us. They were sort of not sure if they were supposed to tell us to, show us our tits or whatever, and some did. And other guys were just like, you fucking rock. They're like, I love you, man. They were so into it just because we're a rock band and they like our songs, hopefully, and they were just into the show.
Do I exploit her or do I worship her?
Yeah. It was intense.
Well, there was definitely an aspect of sexism in the press that we received from the very beginning. Very early on, somebody started writing about what we looked like, our body types, which I imagine they do with men too, but I don't notice it as much. And there was just something really frustrating about that focus on what we looked like as opposed to, or the fact that we were women. And part of that can be exciting. It isn't sexist necessarily. Part of it is cool that they're acknowledging that it's a new and exciting thing that women are rocking as hard as they have been rocking recently. But there, I don't know, there was just a slant to a lot of things. There was a woman in the British press who accused Louise of setting feminism back 10 years because she applied lipstick on stage at a show in London. And that was just obnoxious and stupid. I mean, really stupid.
Basically, we were accused of having been the result of a manufacturing marketing meeting, and that we had been a fabricated concept. And that was really insulting because we were just a band. We had played like 10 shows when we made our first record. We made this indie record in Chicago really cheaply, thinking no one would ever hear it. And everyone heard it because Seether, our 7-inch, got picked up by a major radio station. And we were just kind of shocked. And I definitely felt like, I'm sure that male buzz bands get some shit, but I felt like we got a lot of shit.
A lot of sexist shit. Like Peter Margasek had written an article in the Reader about us, calling us chattel. And to me, that was the most insulting thing someone could say, and a really ignorant thing for somebody to say, not knowing us, not knowing how we make our decisions, just from afar, imagining that we were someone's property, that we did as we were told, that we were, and that was like one of the most insulting and sexist things I think a person could say. If you don't like our music, that's fine with us. You know, if someone says, I don't like them, I don't like their lyrics, I don't like their voices, whatever. But talking about us personally as women, referring to us as chattel, I think was just inexcusable and really disgusting.
This song is called Good Disaster.
Do this any better. I don't have the right to try. I can't get there any faster. Watch the hours go by. Bye-bye. Weren't you in Mississippi? Weren't you rude to my friend? You could have covered for me. She paid to see your band. My mother never liked you. My brother felt the same. They all saw right through you before I knew you were lame. Run, little one, away from what you started. Something will come of all tomorrow's parties. Oh, all tomorrow's parties. We could have had so much fun. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. I love a good disaster. I love to fall apart. They tell me I'm the master of loving and losing heart. Do, 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 do.
That rocks! Wow!
This is called April.
Rock and roll is largely a story of being at the right place at the right time. It's the music of the moment. You know, it hits you here and now, and you have an emotional reaction to it, and then you move on. And some of that music continues to have a resonance as you go on, and some of it becomes a novelty one-hit wonder. You know, and sometime we're going to have a K-Tel hits of the 90s, the alternative 90s, with Seether and Landslide by Smashing Pumpkins. And that'll be pretty damn funny.
Learned a lot about the music biz, the underworld of the music biz.
I think what's going to happen is slowly these bands that have signed to major labels are going to either have succeeded or the 95% fail rate. They're all going to come home and they're all going to tell stories about when they were on tour with so-and-so, and they're going to be teaching drum clinics and guitar clinics in the suburbs, and that's exactly what's going to happen because it happens everywhere. It's just It's funny because I don't think musicians have figured it out yet. That's what happens to you.
Well, I guess they're left picking up Johns in the bus station. I don't know. I mean, they just reality sets in. I mean, you can't. No, not everybody's going to be a rock star.
It's a sad thing to think that that's, you know, after they're done with their major label experience, that somehow they don't want to do music anymore. And then you just know they weren't about music. They were about the thought of succeeding and being a big rock star, which I guess is fine. But
we worked really hard. We did everything we were supposed to do. For whatever reason, you know, I'm not going to blame Atlantic. I'm not going to blame us. I'm not going to blame, you know, anything. It's just the way it all worked out. And you know, actually, we did, you know, quite a bit. And I can't be sorry for the way it all happened, really.
I've had some friends who are casualties. I have a friend who, I shouldn't say this, but he had a record label and he just ended up making everyone who had ever been associated with him hate him. And his way of resolving the label's business was to take all the singles that were still in his possession and go out in a boat and drop them in Lake Michigan. You know, that was like his, you know, rational, mature response to being burnt out of his mind, you know. So I think people should remove themselves a little bit before they get to that point. You know, that's my personal feelings, but
I don't know. I guess it didn't work out quite as good as it could have, you know. I would have liked to have sold a few more records and had a few more people hear it. You know, it was 3 years of my life. But in retrospect, it's a cool thing, you know.
So today, I'm trying to find Billy Corgan's house. I saw a picture of it in a magazine, and I want to drop by and give him a tape and see if he's interested in being in the movie. Maybe that's it right there. That's it. If I have a minor psychedelic moment, for example, or if there's a brief sexual arousal, any of those things could make me raise my voice. But like I said, I think the chances are slim.